we're starting with our feet completely together, standing up really nice and tall, and we're going to take a squeeze in towards the centre with both legs. So my legs are slightly bowed. If I relax them, you can see that gap with the white wall behind. I'm squeezing them in towards each other so much that I try and lose that gap. There's a lot of things today where we're activating pelvic floor, inside thighs, and that whole sort of area. So hopefully that will make some sense and you'll have some awareness of that area by the end of class. So squeezing the legs in, sending the tailbone down, lifting the top of the head up, and we're taking the arms up to the ceiling, backs of the hands together, turning the palms and bringing the arms down. So backs of the hands together at the top, palms up, bringing the arms down. Let's add our breathing to this. So when the arms are down, we're breathing in, and then we're breathing out as the arms go up, squeezing the legs together, breathing in to lower. I'm thinking of leading with the top of the back of my wrist sort of thing. So up to the top and then down. And I'm sort of leading with my elbows in the sense that my arms are soft, relaxed. So that breathing is happening. It's not for me because I'm too busy talking. And also if you forget, you will go back to normal breathing. So breath out as the arms go up, breath in as they lower. Let's add some leg work to this, some balancing. So we're going to rise up onto the balls of the feet. So I'm squeezing my ankles, my knees together, my inside thighs together, which helps to keep me nice and stable. Breathing out as the arms go up. Breathing in as you bring those arms down. Good. Lowering with control. So the weight is staying pretty much on the balls of the feet. Wonderful. I'm just going to turn sideways. I'm just showing you with one arm. The arm at the side of the body is sort of drawing a figure of 8, which is going to come in handy in a little moment. And how you make that happen is by thinking about the shoulder position. So the shoulder rounds, the shoulder pitches forwards as that elbow leads, and then the shoulder rolls back as the elbow lowers. And then we're going to add another arm movement. So we're going to take the arms up, bring the arms down. We will add the rise in a moment, but we're going to bend the knees and round our back, and again lead with the back of the hand, round the arms forwards, and then stand nice and upright. So the arms go up, they come down, we bend the knees, we keep the feet in the knees together, we round the back, we scoop out the tummy, and then we come upright. As we're coming upright, again leading with the back of the wrist, we're opening up the chest. So let's add all of that together. I'm going to go back a little bit. So, feet together. You could try the breathing, but I probably won't even go there. So, arms are up. And as you lower the arms, you're coming up onto that nice rise. Heels up as high as you can. Then we're bending the knees, rounding the back, finding that balance point. We're straightening the legs, and as we lower the heels, we're taking the arms up again. So arms are coming down, we're coming up onto the rise, onto the balls of the feet. Bend the knees, round the back, curve the arms forwards, open, sweep the arms back as you straighten the legs, and then lowering the heels. Let's have 2 more. To the top, round and forwards. So it's quite a challenge for your balance. Last one. Hopefully you've managed to keep those feet in the same place. And lowering the heels with control. My toes are a bit grippy then. Lowering the arms and continue to lengthen the spine. Brilliant. Keep the feet and knees together. Let's take one arm at the side. So thinking of lifting that elbow, or just think about the back of the wrist leading up and leading down. And then just start to join in a little bit with the sides of your torso. And let's try the other side. So one arm lifting up and dropping down, lifting up and dropping down. I'm leading with that side seam. Great, I'm going to keep that arm at the top and then I'm going to bring the other one up as I'm lowering one. So it becomes nice and fluid. When you're halfway, you've got this nice curved position of the arms, like it's a capital S sort of on its side. Feels a bit Greek dancing. And I just realised I was allowing my legs to relax. I noticed that nice gap between my thighs and my knees return, so I've squeezed my legs together again. Because the feet are together, it's not hugely difficult, but it makes balancing a little bit more challenging. And that's enough of that. Great. Okay, let's take the feet wider this time for shoulder width apart, and we're taking some side bends of the body. In fact, let's start with the arms out wide, and let's take a butterfly sweep, as I call them. I'm going to go sideways again. So we're reaching forward, sweeping the arms forwards, pushing the ribs back, taking that pelvic tilt, and then opening up the arms and lifting the chest. Make this again as big as you like, and again I'm drawing a sort of slightly odd figure of 8, but there's a slight figure of 8 movement going on there, and it's just about moving that rib cage. There's enough of those. Wonderful. Now we're going to take some side bends. So we're just mobilising the whole of the torso. So lifting up one arm, reaching over to the side, rolling the arm down and across your body, and then the head relaxes and rolls to the other side. You swap the arms over and you come up to the top. So we're going to take this on 3 levels. The first level is just the head rolling across the collarbone. Second level is halfway down. Third level is all the way to the floor. So we're reaching, rolling, coming up the other side and returning. So we've got a side bend here. This is really quite relaxed with the head. It's like your head is a billiard ball and it's rolling across your collarbone. When you come up the other side, try and get a second side bend. So reaching up, side bend there, relax the arm, relax the head, reach and then look under by pulling that shoulder back. Let's go to the middle level. So over to the side, bend the knees, roll round in the middle, come up and to the top. So sideways, round, sideways and up to the top. 2 more. Last one at this level. And then the grand finale all the way down to the floor to brush the floor. Try and stop the dog from having a wash in the middle of class. Last one, all the way down, relax the head and shoulders, and there we go. Great job. Okay, we are going to stand on one leg. This is the beginning of our hip work, and this one particularly is about your hip flexors. Excellent, Dexter. Okay, so thinking about your feet and knees being hip width apart, standing on your weaker leg, transfer the weight over, lift the other leg up into a knee fold, make sure the knee is directly opposite your hip. Settle down, Dexter. So from the side, I'm here, a 90-degree angle. The lower leg is just dangling. And then we're going to draw a figure of 8 with this kneecap. The figure of 8 is lying on its side and it's quite big. And it helps me to try and distract the dog. So I'm looking for my shoulders and my hips to be absolutely square, and that figure of 8 drawing quite smoothly. Try and have two 2 equal circles. He now thinks I'm playing with him. Good, and it will get quite grippy. My standing leg is straight. My this is the grippy hip. It will get grippy at the front of your hip. Go with it. When you'd like to stop, which is about now for me, try and change direction of your figure of 8. Just a few more if you can. So both legs are now really warm, and you feel, I feel like I want to really stretch out the front of my hip, the hip flexors. Okay, so we're here. The knees opposite the hip, and we're circling 2 circles next to each other, making a nice figure of 8. Checking my clothing, I'm sure my t-shirt was a little bit wonky, but checking that hips and shoulders are square. Checking that this lower leg is just dangling, so there's no turning out, there's no change in the shape of that leg. Well, I've actually managed to change direction. I didn't really want to change direction. Carrying on in the same direction if you can. Standing legs straight, keeping hips, shoulders square to the front. When you would like to stop, when it's starting to feel the same amount of work as the other side, change direction on your figure of 8. Always difficult, that one. There's a natural way that we go, or not a natural way, but an easier way. That will be your first way, your default way round your figure of 8. And then to change that makes your brain have to work much harder, which is not a bad thing. And again, I just want to tuck under and drive those hips forwards a little bit, and actually have a little bit of a, do this as well. So make a soft fist, bend your knees a little bit, just to release that tension from when you're straight, and just pummel a little bit. So we've already got the blood flow there, we're just increasing that blood flow and that awareness of that area. Wonderful, so that was a figure of 8 in that position, and now we're going to draw a figure of 8 on the floor, and I haven't got my socks on today, so I'm probably going to be a little bit sticky, but that's fine. So standing on your weaker leg to start with, look down and draw a figure of 8 on the floor. The front circle is in front of your standing leg, the back circle is behind it, and I'm sort of brushing past my foot each time I go. Both legs are slightly, my standing leg, sorry, is slightly bent, and the focus here is to move now your hips. So the last one we wanted everything to stay still, apart from this thigh moving. Now what I want is for you to move this thigh in and out as much as you can within the hip joint, and to allow your standing leg, standing side hip, if you like, to reciprocate a little bit and go with it a little bit. And then it should look not unlike you're doing some salsa dancing, because your upper body is just going to go in the opposite direction, hopefully. And when everything is started to ache a little bit, my standing leg is feeling like it's doing a little bit of work, I'm going to change direction again. So I naturally went across first and then out. So now I'm going to go out for the front circle, across and out to the back. And it feels very unnatural going this way, and it doesn't look overly pretty either. A little bit awkward. But notice how much the moving around on that ankle, the standing ankle, is going on. There's quite a lot of adjusting going on there, that's absolutely fine. Trying to turn that knee in, turn it out, allow your hips to go with it. But the rib cage is nice and lifted off, and that's enough. I'm going to give that leg a bit of a shake. So on the other side, looking down to start with, just so that you find where your shape is, making sure that you're making a nice even, 2 even circles. both roughly the same size. The crossover point for your figure of 8 is next to your instep on your standing leg. And then once you've done that, lift the head, lift the eye line, put your hands into just done your nails position, or piano playing if you don't do your nails, or don't ever paint your nails. And then just allow that upper body to react, but don't think about it, don't place it anywhere, to what's going on with that leg. So draw that knee in, open the thigh out, draw the knee in and across, open it out to go behind you. And you'll find your shoulders will just go in the opposite direction quite naturally, hopefully. And again, lots of rolling around, compensating, adjustment going on in the ankle. Start to make my calf and my shin feel a little bit like they're doing some work today. And then I'm going to change direction. So I was going across and out, which is the most natural way. I'm going to go out and across and then to the back. Continuing to try and move that thigh and that knee and those toes. And also this, something else I've just realised with this, what we're going to use in a moment when we come down to the floor, this amount of contact on the mat with my toes. I haven't lifted my leg off the floor. It's not just flailing around in the air. I've got that contact, but I'm not rucking the mat up. And that we're going to use that in a moment as well. And I've managed to continue to go in the reverse direction, which I think is quite impressive. Okay, give those legs a bit of a shake. Well done. So moving on to something slightly different, but we're thinking about buttocks and hips, and we're working towards a shoelace lunge. So you're going to stand at the front of your yoga mat, but just watch me first. We're going to take 3 steps backwards. So the third one, you'll be in a long lunge position. So I'm taking 1 step, making sure that I take everything back with me so that this front knee is above or behind the ankle. Another step, I'm almost lunging down towards the floor, kneeling down towards the floor, but I'm not quite going to go there. Again, this knee is back. And then the last one is taking the leg back. It doesn't have to be straight, it can be quite bent, but basically I'm taking my chest onto my thighs, my hands to the floor, and making sure that this knee is above or behind the ankle, fingertips to the floor. Then I'm going to take 2 steps to come in. So the first one is halfway. The second one, as I bring that second one in, I'm going to stand and put my feet together. A couple of people have gone a little bit dizzy or lightheaded as we've been doing this in class this week, so be a little bit wary. Just watch me one more time. So 3 steps back. 1, 2, 3. Down, hands to the floor, chest on your thigh. 1 in, there's our shoelace lunge. This knee is still above the ankle, it's not all the way forwards here, so I'm there. And then I'm standing and bringing that foot in. Here we go, so let's take 4 of those. So 1, everything is shifted back. 2, hips are going back. 3, hands to the floor, chest on your thigh, coming in. 1. Nothing really changes here apart from bringing that leg in. And then as I'm standing, I'm lifting my chest, putting the weight into that front leg is where we want to be. And then stepping back. 1, small one. 2, medium one. 3, go all the way. Watch the position of that front knee. Come halfway back in. Feet together. This is the cheating version actually. Feet together, then come up. What I'm actually looking for is for you to come up on that one leg. So 2 more. If you want to work a little bit harder, lift the knee as you come to stand. So we're taking the leg back. 3, 2, 1. And then halfway in. And then this time, as I'm standing, I'm fully 100% on that standing leg, lifting into a knee fold, then I put the foot down. So 3, 2, 1, hips are back, hands are down to the floor, halfway in, all the way through that front leg, lift the knee and place down. Great, hopefully that was good for you. We will continue with that movement next week. So now let's take our legs nice and wide, turned out in the hip socket. I'm just going to pull the leggings up slightly. So making sure that your heels are on the same line, your toes are out to the corners, but mainly you've turned the legs out in the hip socket. So that as we bend the knees, we can keep the spine really upright. So knees are going over the toes. I'm also looking in my monitor for perfect symmetry. So I'm not slightly over to one side. If you've got an injury or a bad ankle or a bad knee or a bad hip on one side, if you've got it on both sides, that's awkward. But on both sides, if it's on both sides, you should be able to stay nice and in the middle. But if you've got a one side injury, you will probably pull away from it. So we're trying to look for perfect symmetry, all the way down and all the way up. Knees are going over the toes. Let's add those arms going up and lowering, same as we did in the beginning, just to make it a little bit more heart rate raising. So if you can only go to here before you feel the need to stick your bottom out, that's absolutely fine. As long as those knees are pinning back and as long as they're going over your toes. Don't necessarily, your hips won't necessarily go in the same position that mine do. Last one. Great, let's go one more down. Hands to the floor. Now push the heels out, so you're turning your legs, pushing your heels out, so your legs are becoming parallel now. And then keep the legs bent and just take a very small shift from side to side. Now this again, very compressing in the front of the hip joint, but that's what we're after. To keep a joint healthy, we need to be able to compress it, to apply pressure to it. And this is a ball and socket joint, so there's lots of ways in which we can apply pressure to it. And we also need to maintain its range of motion, range of movement. And then I'm going to take my feet much wider. So hands are underneath the shoulders, feet are pointing out to the corners, the front corners of my mat now, and then we've got our regular bending one leg, straightening the other, as we move from side to side. Making sure, again, those knees go over the toes. Trying not to let the ankle roll in. You have to turn your toes out a little bit with this. If you can try it with feet really parallel, and it's like, I get so far and then it feels like my ankle is blocking the movement. So toes go out to the corners. My legs are almost as wide as my yoga mat. It's a very strong stretch all the way through the movement. We're going to move on into the lizard here. My legs are pretty much in exactly the right position. I'm going to turn around to the side. So the right position again is this knee behind or above the ankle. The opposite hand goes down to the floor. We reach the same arm. We reach it forwards and you pitch forwards a little bit. Then you take the arm up. You look and follow that arm behind you, keeping it nice and straight. Then when you bring it back to the front to start again, you tuck the elbow in, you bring it on the inside of your leg, you touch your shoulder to that inside of that front knee. And then I'm reaching forwards again. So there's rotation here. There's a stretch on the outside thigh and hip. There's lots of lovely movement going on. Try and keep breathing. Imagine you're talking as much as me and then you wouldn't be able to hold your breath. And then the legs are in the perfect position to swap around to the other side. If anything, actually I've gone slightly too far apart, front to back, so I'm just moving in a little bit. Opposite hand to that foot at the front, underneath your shoulder, roll forwards over your toes, lift up, try and touch the ceiling. As you reach back with the arm, push back into that heel and that calf. Tuck the elbow in, get the arm on the inside.
touch the shoulder to the inside of that knee. So there's rotation of my thoracic spine in both directions. I'm reaching forwards, lifting up. Lovely fluid movement, about 4 of these. Unless you're really enjoying yourself, in which case do an extra one, which I'm going to do today on this side. Whoa, well done. Switching back round to the front. I'm going to walk my feet in by going heels, toes, heels, toes, heels, toes, until my feet are parallel, soft knees, head hanging, and then I'm going to tuck the pelvis under and roll up in order to change monitors, cameras, and be down on the floor when we return. So come down onto your backs, starting off in the base position. And then I would just like you to bring your feet and knees together. Make sure your head is at the top of your yoga mat if you're using a yoga mat. If you're on the floor, if you're on a carpet and or you've got socks on, this next movement might be a little bit easier, but I'm going to challenge myself a little bit by staying with bare feet on the sticky yoga mat. Find your base position, find a nice neutral spine, span your hands into piano playing or jazz hands, little fingers on your hip bones, thumbs on your lower ribs at the front. And then we're just going to unweight the feet and notice what happens in the body. So you're lifting, so when you're relaxed, you're in the perfect position, but your feet and your legs weigh 10 Pilates pounds. And then you're going to just unweight them to 2 Pilates pounds. So I've just released the amount of weight going through my feet, and then I'm going to relax. What you're feeling for with your hands is that there's no change. There's no change in the lower back. There's no change in the shape, but hopefully you will also notice a bit of a switching on in order to unweight the feet and the legs to make them worth 2 Pilates pounds. And then let's just gently, so lift the heels a little bit more, slide the feet out to straight, keeping switched on in the centre, and slide the feet back. So I'm still in contact with my yoga mat, but I'm not rucking it up. When my legs are extended, I can't afford to completely relax here. I have to keep that tension and that tone, and it's quite hard work. So bear that in mind. Keep this whole area switched on. Then we're going to think about the movement of the thigh bone in the hip socket. This is all about the hips today. So knees are going to drop out to the side. You're going to straighten your legs. Then you're going to turn your legs inwards. Bring your legs back in. The knees are together, and I've rucked up my mat. I can see it, the monitor, because I've allowed, my feet are too heavy here. So I've just switched off a little bit in my centre. Allow the feet to come back. It's much harder with bare feet. I'm going to admit that now. And then when we're back to the start, bring your feet together. So feet and knees together. Knees drop out to the side. So the legs are turned out, but quite relaxed. You straighten the legs. That bit's relatively easy because you can't sort of change the position of the mat there. From this turned out position, turn everything in. So my thighs are rolling inwards. My knees are together, my feet are apart as I come back. It's hard work here, and then bring the feet together. Knees out, straighten, roll in and return. I'm going to do 2 more. Keeping switched on in the centre, keeping the shape of my lower back exactly the same. Working quite hard. I'm going to do 1 more. And then I'm going to change the direction, of course. So knees are together, feet go out as you straighten, then you're bringing them back, legs out to the side. This not as ideal as the first direction because I have to have quite a bit of tension in the groin in order not to drag the mat back in with me. But essentially we're trying to get the thigh bone to move in and out in that hip socket as much as possible. One more for luck. Yes, and relax. Brilliant. Let's move my book over here and I can see what I'm doing. Great, okay. Let's have our feet and knees together and take a peeling bridge with your feet and knees together. So this, again, you're going to notice this in the front of your hips. We're working that whole pelvic floor area. So a peeling bridge, tuck the pelvis under, push the feet down into the floor. I find this really quite difficult with my knees together. Coming up as high as you can, activating those buttocks, rib cages drop down. Let's take the arms up and over to the floor behind you. Leave the arms there. Now reverse peel down. One vertebrae at a time. And I'm just going to shuffle down my mat slightly more. So feet and knees together. Keep them there. Let's do 2 more of those. Peel the spine off. Make sure the rib cage is soft. Hips are up as high as they can be. My legs are quivering just because I've done all this work this week and today as well. Unraveling through the spine, release to neutral, bring the arms over. Let's take 1 more of those. Tucking under, all the way up to the top. Arms up and over. Reverse peel. And coming back over. Wonderful. Let's work a little bit more at trying to open up the front of these hips and work the back side, work the gluteal fold, so the back of the hips. So coming up into a straight bridge, up as high as you can be, connect those ribs, knees, feet and knees are together. We're going to open up the knees a tiny bit, think 1 inch, but it will probably be more like 4 inches. But imagine it's only 1 inch. Every time you open up your knees, switch on more with that gluteal fold. Get those hips up a little bit higher and then squeeze the knees together. I really am shaking today. Lift up, higher as you open up the knees. Stay up, squeeze those knees together. Lift and squeeze. About 10 of these if you can. Whew. It's quite incredible actually how much extra lift you can get when you apply this movement. When you open up those knees, really activate, switch on the back of the hips. That's hard work. Not sure how many I've done. I'm going to do 2 more. Squeeze, open up, lift, squeeze, and I'm just going to relax and come straight back down. Woo. Then I'm going to hug my knees in as much as I can and just hang on to your knees with your hands and really spread your fingers apart. Really take hold of your knees and be quite relaxed in your legs. In fact, be really relaxed in your legs. Imagine your arms have got control of your legs. You don't have any muscles in your legs. You can't do anything with them. They're just sort of fixed in this position. And then we're trying to, and then we're going to take some symmetrical circles. Trying to mobilise the thigh bone in the hip socket. There's a little bit of the pelvis moving around as well, without using any muscles in your legs, because I'm gripping onto my knees quite strongly. It's my moving of my arms that is making the legs move. Just allow those feet to relax. And that should feel quite nice, hopefully. Wonderful. Okay, we are into our abdominal section today. So, hand closest to the arm, closest to the camera, down on the floor. This is 90 degrees, this is 45 degrees. The other hand is at the back of the head. Let's start with the feet and knees squeezed together. We're going to take 5 of each of these positions. The 5 is relatively easy. I'm letting you off a little bit. I've just let them carry on in class until they're exhausted. So the idea behind squeezing feet and knees together is to keep the pelvis absolutely still. We're going to lift this top elbow up and over, and I'm saying up and over, I'm reaching over, peeling that back shoulder and upper body up off the floor. If I was to extend my arm, my elbow would be reaching up to where the ceiling and the wall meet in my room. It's quite a square room, but I'm just there, and then I'm rolling back down again. So coming up, squeezing the legs together, checking, noticing that the hips don't roll with you. So that back hip, that same side hip, I'm exaggerating it, but that will want to come with you. 2 more, reaching up, spreading the hands at the back of the head so you're totally supporting the head. And I'm looking up in that direction as well. I'm not tucking my chin in, I'm not rolling over sideways, I'm reaching up there. We're going to carry on, open up the toes, open up the heels, so feet and knees are now hip width apart. Do exactly the same with the upper body, but add a knee fold to the movement. Think about your timing. As that knee lifts, the elbow is up, the upper body is in the position. As the foot lowers, the upper body is back down. 2 more. Reaching and returning. We're going to add on. Same thing is happening with this leg. It's taking a knee fold. The upper body is taking an oblique curl. And then the other leg is sliding along the floor. Again, that foot is not hugely weighted, so that when you draw it back in, it remains in contact with the floor, and everything gets back to that starting position at the same time. So knee fold, leg slide, abdominal curl, or an oblique twist. 3 more. Try not to cheat and lift that leg off of the floor as you slide it out. Last one here. Grand finale. We're going to go knee fold, leg slide, extend that top leg, reach that top arm up towards where the ceiling and the wall are. In fact, make contact with your leg, reach up, draw everything back and lower down. Knee fold, leg slide, extend and reach and lower. And twist. Trying to keep that pelvis still. This is quite strong work. You should be feeling a good bit of work around the top of your waist and in the side of the ribs on the side that you're reaching across towards. Whew, that's the oblique side of it. Brilliant. I'm going to twiddle round to face the other way, but stay where you are. So I'm doing it all on the other side. So we're starting with the feet and knees together. The arm is not at 90, it's at 45 degrees. The hand is at the back of the head. Think about your timing. Squeezing feet and knees together so that you can reach this elbow up towards the ceiling. The hips stay still, stay strong. Lower back shape stays the same. Rolling across that shoulder a little bit, but more of a feeling of lifting up than going sideways. Noticing hopefully that you're starting to feel that activation on the other side, just above your waist at where the ribs, front ribs finish. I think that's 1 more. Then we're adding the knee fold. Sorry, we're opening up the toes first, then the heels first. So legs, feet and knees are hip width apart. We're lifting, being accurate with that leg and lowering. So if I draw this knee in too far, if it's not in its perfect knee fold position, that will change the shape of my lower back. I'm hoping that nothing is changing shape. Adding on, knee fold, oblique twist, leg slide. Bring the leg back in contact with the floor. Get everything back to the start at the same time. 4 more. 3, 2. Hopefully that hand, the arm, the back arm is supporting the head. Neck shouldn't be aching. Last one of that variety, I think. And then knee fold, leg slide, leg extension, arm extension. Tweak that a little bit more, bring everything back. And again, knee fold, leg extension, tweak the arm. The arm is still reaching up towards the corner, but I'm making a bit of contact here just to get that extra push and squeeze, and it's allowing me to twist my shoulders a tiny bit more. 2 more. Reaching. Whew. Think about the pelvis, think about the lower back. And whew, well done. Relax. Let's roll over onto our sides. Again, for some nice inside thigh work. If you have a yoga mat like I've got, I would suggest just folding it over, maybe a couple of times, and having your hip on that bit. So you just got a little bit of extra padding, because this is quite strong, especially if you find side lying uncomfortable. It's usually my ladies. Yeah, so this just helps to ease it a little bit. So we have got the legs in a straight line, the body in a straight line. Try and lift that underneath side up. So we're pushing down on the shoulder and the hip. So we're lengthening the side of the waist here, and then we're lifting both legs up. Feet are pointed. It's very similar to the position we did when we were standing, but we don't need to push our legs together now. We're just working gravity, especially on that underneath leg. From here, turning the whole leg out in the hip socket and then coming back to parallel. Turning out, so my feet are softly pointed, my ankles staying the same, my heels stay together. The only thing that changes is the position of the whole leg in the hip socket, and I'm using pelvic floor turnout muscles to make this rotation happen. When I'm parallel, my knees and the top of my feet are facing forwards. When I turn both legs out, one knee is going up, the other knee is going down. Making this much harder, we're going to draw that top knee in. We're in parallel. The foot is touching the underneath knee. Then we're turning both legs out. We're going to take that top foot behind to touch the floor. Once we've done that, we're going to lift that underneath, the underneath leg up. Really strongly working the inside thigh. Tap the toe back on top. Return to parallel with both legs and then straighten. This can be done. Let's do 5 of these. I'm going to do my next one, just showing you how to just relax that underneath leg. Keep it straight and don't necessarily work it. So you're here, draw in, turn out, tap the foot behind, tap on top, parallel and straighten. If you can, both legs are up all the way through. Drawing the knee in, turning both legs out. You could maybe keep that underneath leg straight and just turn the top leg out. The thing that will happen is the top hip will want to roll back. Tap the toes into the floor, lift that inside thigh, tap on top, parallel and straighten. I've completely lost track of how many we've done. I'm going to do 1 more, I think. Lift, tap on top, parallel and relax. All on the other side. Straighten out this bit of the mat, fold this bit over, beautiful horizontal straight line, hips are stacked, shoulders are stacked, top shoulder is drawn down away from your ears, both legs are up. So you might just only want to do this part. So turning the legs out, coming back to parallel. Turning out and parallel. Feet stay pointed. Heels stay together. The movement is taking place in the hip. Try and keep the waist and the ribs lifted away from the mat. Trying to keep this top hip from rolling back. Keep it stacked. And let's keep the legs in parallel. So you need this hand on the floor to counterbalance this knee coming so far forwards. So it's really far forwards. My feet stay pointed all the way through this whole exercise. Toe touching the underneath knee. Turning both legs out. Hips stay stacked. Slide, I'm remaining in contact with that underneath leg. Touch the floor behind. Lift the leg up. Touch back on top. Parallel and straighten. And again. Whoopsie, I don't know whether you heard that. Hip likes to do quite a big clunk on this side. So I'm going to really try and lift my rib cage out of my hips. This is number 3. Yeah, it wasn't quite as big a clunk. Still there a little bit. If you start to get a bit necky, turn your face to look down towards the floor. Try not to drop your chin too much. Yeah, still clunking. Last one coming up. Keep that underneath leg up. Feet are beautifully straight. No curly insteps. Parallel and relax and collapse. Good work. Okay, finishing off with lying on our tummies. Let's come this way a little bit, and we're going to take some salutes. So let's just have the legs hip width apart. Connect your rib cage to your hips at the front. Push your pubic bone into the floor a little bit. And let's start with the hands on top of hands. Fingers on top of fingers actually. And then place your forehead on your hands. And feel like you've lengthened the legs away out of your hips, but they're nice and parallel. Your shoulders are drawn down away from your ears. And then all we're going to do to start with is just lift the back of the head and neck up so that your back of your head and neck, i.e. the top of your spine, is level with the rest of your spine. When your head is on your hands, when your forehead is resting on your hands, your head is a little bit forward of the rest of the spine. Lift it up and back, but with no change, so my forehead is still parallel to the floor. It's not a very big movement, and try and notice that you don't move your shoulders. You don't lift your shoulders or your back at all. They don't change shape, and there's a certain point where you'll feel that you sort of hit the top. You can't really go any further. You could go further if you lifted your chin, but then you'd just be getting wrinkles at the back of the neck. We don't want any extra wrinkles in this house. So keep that chin tucked in and lower. And then if you can, if you're starting to feel a little bit uncomfortable in the lower back, it might be because you need to remind yourself to switch that pelvic floor on, push your pubic bone into the mat a little bit, just to support that lower back. Holding the head at the top, so the forehead is parallel to the floor. Open up your hands so your fingertips are just touching, your middle fingertips are just touching. And then the movement is to lift one arm into a salute, so fingertips are touching forehead, eyebrows, and then lower. The whole arm is lifting up. and lower. Noticing as you do this, I'm alternating sides, is there any rocking and rolling going on in your torso? Mainly at your hips, either your hips or your shoulders. Ideally, there's no movement whatsoever. Relax when you've done equal amount on both sides. Have a little think about that. In fact, let's come up onto your elbows. Elbows underneath your shoulders. Just take a sphinx stretch while we're here. So we're trying to stretch that upper back up and over and pull the chest through. If you did notice some rocking and rolling, so there'll be a slight rotation, maybe in the pelvis or maybe in the shoulders when you did that last one. Try it one more time, we'll do it together, and really try and switch on at the front of your body. So what I mean by that, let's lie down again. So fingertips just touching. Push your pubic bone into the floor, connect your rib cage to your hips at the front. You could maybe curl your toes under and just straighten your legs, so you're activating the gluteal fold at the back as well. Push your elbows down into the floor. Maybe the head and shoulders are a little bit higher than they were before, but now see if you can lift and lower and swap sides with no change. So do 4 singles and 4 doubles. The other thing to think about is lengthening out through the top of your head. Where I've got my hair in my top knot. So elbows, hands, lower arm, all lifting and lowering at the same pace like a platform. 4 doubles, and then relaxing, collapsing, coming up onto all fours. 4 some spine circles, lots of 4s going on there. Spine circles, vertical spine circles, horizontal spine circles. Curling the toes under, lifting the hips, pushing the chest back through the arms to stretch the backs of the legs. Maybe walking the feet forwards towards the hands. Soft knees, rolling up through the spine, tuck that pelvis under, unravel yourself all the way to the top. Brilliant. Good job. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope to see you again soon.